Commander Zekthara pressed his scaled fingers against the observation deck's cold metal railing. His yellow eyes stared at the blue planet spinning slowly below their cloaked ship. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, like a marble floating in the endless black of space. But Zekthara knew better. His mission was simple: study the human military forces and report back to the Vorthon Empire about their weaknesses. The Vorthons had conquered 17 star systems in the past century. Each time, their scouts had done exactly what Zekthara was doing now. They would watch, learn, and find the weak points. Then the massive Vorthon war fleets would arrive and crush any resistance within days. It was a pattern that had never failed. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the northern continent," reported Lieutenant Veltar from his station. The young scout's tentacles moved quickly across the glowing controls. "It appears the humans are conducting some kind of military exercise." Zekthara's eyes narrowed with interest. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life, displaying a vast desert landscape. Thousands of human soldiers moved across the sandy terrain like tiny ants. Their vehicles kicked up massive clouds of dust that could be seen even from orbit. Zekthara had studied human warfare for months, and this looked like their largest gathering yet. "Magnify the image," he ordered. As the camera zoomed closer, Zekthara could see individual human faces. They looked so young, so fragile. Their skin was soft and pink. Nothing like the thick armored scales of his own people. These creatures had no natural weapons, no claws or poison glands. They seemed to rely entirely on their primitive tools and machines. "Begin recording everything," Zekthara commanded. "The High Command will want to see this." For hours, the scout ship watched the human exercise unfold. Zekthara took careful notes about their weapons, their communication methods, and their battle formations. The humans used projectile weapons that fired small metal bullets. Their vehicles moved on wheels or tracks, making them slow and vulnerable. Most importantly, their commanders seemed to rely on radio signals that could easily be jammed. "These humans are even weaker than we thought," Veltar commented, watching a group of soldiers struggling to carry their heavy equipment across a sand dune. "Look how they tire so easily. Our warriors could march for days without rest." Zekthara nodded, but something nagged at him. The Vorthon intelligence reports had mentioned that humans were surprisingly effective fighters despite their physical limitations. They had somehow survived and thrived on a planet full of dangerous predators. There had to be more to them than what appeared on the surface. "Sir, incoming transmission from the fleet," another scout reported. "Admiral Korth wants our initial assessment." Zekthara activated the communication system. The holographic image of Admiral Korth materialized in front of him. The Admiral's scarred face bore the marks of countless battles across the galaxy. His reputation for ruthless efficiency was known throughout the Empire. "Report, Commander." Korth's voice crackled through the speakers. "The humans appear to be conducting large-scale military training, Admiral," Zekthara began carefully. "Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Kinetic projectile weapons, combustion-powered vehicles, and basic communication systems. However, I recommend continued observation before—" "Enough," Korth interrupted. "How many ships will we need for the initial assault?" Zekthara hesitated. Something felt wrong about rushing into this conquest. "Admiral, perhaps we should study them for a few more weeks. There might be aspects of their capabilities that we haven't—" "Commander, I didn't ask for your strategic advice." Korth's voice turned cold. "I asked for numbers." "How many ships?" The pressure in Zekthara's chest cavity increased as he felt the weight of the Admiral's impatience. Going against a superior officer's wishes was dangerous, but his instincts as a scout told him they needed more information. "Based on what we've observed so far, a standard conquest fleet should be sufficient. 50 battleships, 200 support vessels," he replied, knowing it was what Korth wanted to hear. "Excellent." Prepare detailed target maps for our gunners. We'll begin the assault in 72 hours. The transmission ended, leaving Zekthara staring at the empty space where the Admiral's image had been. Something deep in his gut told him they were making a mistake, but he was just a scout commander. His job was to observe and report, not question the wisdom of the High Command. "Sir, should we continue monitoring the human exercise?" Veltar asked. "Yes, but expand our search. I want to know about every military installation on this planet, every weapon, every soldier, every secret base they might be hiding." As the hours passed, Zekthara's unease grew stronger. The more they watched, the more questions arose. The humans had spread across their entire planet in just a few thousand years. They had built cities that housed millions of individuals. They had even sent primitive spacecraft to other worlds in their solar system. Most puzzling was their behavior during conflict. The historical records showed that humans had fought countless wars among themselves, displaying a level of aggression and determination that seemed impossible for such fragile creatures. They would continue fighting even when heavily outnumbered or outgunned. Some would even sacrifice their own lives to protect others. "Sir, I'm detecting something unusual." Veltar's voice was tense with excitement. "There's a massive underground complex beneath the desert where they're conducting the exercise. The energy readings are significant." Zekthara moved to Veltar's station and studied the readings himself. The underground facility was enormous, stretching for miles in every direction. Whatever was down there was consuming vast amounts of power. "Can we get visual confirmation?" "Negative, sir. Too much interference. But the energy signature suggests they have technology we haven't seen before." For the first time since arriving at Earth, Zekthara felt a chill run down his spine. Every conquest in Vorthon history had begun with complete intelligence about the enemy. They never attacked without knowing exactly what they were facing. But here, they were about to launch an assault against a species they barely understood. "Veltar, send a priority message to Admiral Korth. Tell him we've discovered evidence of unknown human technology and request permission to extend our observation period." "Message sent, sir." The reply came back within minutes. "Request denied. Proceed with target mapping as ordered." Zekthara stared at the response, feeling helpless. In 72 hours, the Vorthon fleet would arrive expecting detailed intelligence about a helpless, primitive enemy. Instead, they would be attacking a species that might have hidden capabilities far beyond what anyone had imagined. As he watched the human soldiers continue their training exercises below, Zekthara couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. But whose trap was it? And what would happen when the most powerful military force in the galaxy discovered that their enemies might not be as weak as they appeared? The blue planet continued its slow rotation, keeping its secrets hidden beneath clouds and continents. In 72 hours, those secrets would either be revealed in glorious conquest or in devastating surprise. Zekthara could only hope that his fears were unfounded and that the Vorthon Empire's perfect record of victory would continue. But deep in his heart, he knew that Earth was different from every other world they had conquered. The question was, different how? The Vorthon invasion fleet materialized at the edge of Earth's solar system like a plague of metal locusts. Admiral Korth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds, watching as his armada arranged itself in perfect battle formation. 50 massive battleships, each one capable of cracking a planet's surface, spread across the darkness of space. Behind them, 200 support vessels carried ground troops, supplies, and the tools needed to strip a world of its resources. This was the moment Korth had been waiting for. Earth would be his 18th conquest, and the rich blue planet would provide the Empire with enough resources to fuel their expansion for decades. The humans wouldn't even know what hit them. "Admiral, receiving final intelligence update from Scout Commander Zekthara," reported his communications officer. "Put him through." Zekthara's image appeared on the main screen. but Korth immediately noticed something different about the scout commander. The normally confident officer looked tired and stressed. His yellow eyes kept darting away from the camera. "Admiral, I must strongly recommend delaying the assault," Zekthara began without the usual formal greetings. "We've discovered additional human installations that appear to be—" "Commander, you're out of line," Korth interrupted sharply. "I don't have time for the nervous worries of a scout who's been alone in space too long. Give me your target recommendations and maintain position for the assault." Zekthara's jaw clenched, but he transmitted the requested data. "The primary military installations are marked on the tactical display. However, Admiral, I must warn you that the humans have underground facilities with energy signatures that suggest—" "Enough!" Korth's voice echoed across the bridge. "You've done your job, Commander. Now let the real warriors handle the rest." The transmission ended, leaving Korth staring at the tactical display. The planet below was marked with hundreds of red dots indicating human military targets. Cities, airfields, naval bases, missile silos, all would be reduced to smoking craters within the first hour of the attack. "Begin the assault," Korth commanded. The Vorthon fleet moved toward Earth like a tide of destruction, their weapons charged with enough energy to shatter mountains. Their shields hummed with power that could deflect anything the primitive humans might throw at them. This would be over quickly. But as they approached Earth's orbit, something unexpected happened. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface," reported the sensor officer, his voice uncertain. "The readings are extraordinary." Korth frowned. "Elaborate." "Sir, the energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. They're coming from installations we never detected during our initial scans. It's as if the entire planet just woke up." On the main screen, Earth no longer looked like the peaceful blue marble they had observed for weeks. Massive structures were rising from the ground across every continent. What had appeared to be mountains were revealing themselves to be camouflaged military installations. The ocean's surface rippled as enormous platforms emerged from the depths. "What in the Empire's name?" Korth whispered. The human planet was transforming before their eyes. Cities that had seemed defenseless were bristling with weapon systems that extended high into the atmosphere. The desert where they had watched the small military exercise was now revealed to be the roof of a complex so vast it spanned multiple countries. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced, his voice shaking slightly. "They're trying to communicate? Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. The creature looked older than the soldiers they had observed, with gray hair and cold blue eyes. When it spoke, its voice was calm and measured. "I am General Harrison of Earth's Unified Defense Command. You are in violation of our planetary space. You have 60 seconds to withdraw your forces or face the consequences." Laughter erupted across the Vorthan bridge. The idea that these soft, weak creatures were threatening the mighty Vorthan Empire was absurd. Korth stepped forward, allowing his full height and muscled bulk to be visible on the camera. "I am Admiral Korth of the Vorthan Empire. We have conquered 17 star systems. Your pathetic world will be the 18th. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." The human general's expression didn't change. 55 seconds, Admiral." "Fire all weapons!" Korth roared. "Show these insects the power of the Empire!" Every ship in the Vorthon fleet opened fire simultaneously. Plasma beams that could melt through solid rock streaked toward Earth. Missiles that carried the explosive force of small suns raced through space. The combined firepower could have destroyed a moon. But something impossible happened. A shimmering barrier of energy appeared around Earth, deflecting the Vorthan weapons like raindrops hitting a window. The plasma beams scattered harmlessly into space. The missiles exploded against the barrier without leaving so much as a scratch. "Impossible," Korth breathed. "No planet has shields that powerful." "Admiral, The energy readings from Earth are increasing exponentially, the sensor officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. Whatever they're powering up, it's bigger than our entire fleet. On the planet's surface, massive structures that dwarfed Vorthan battleships were rotating to face the invasion fleet. These weren't the primitive weapons they had expected. These were engineering marvels that represented technology beyond anything in the Empire's arsenal. "Admiral," General Harrison's voice came through the speakers again. "You have proven your hostile intent. Earth's response will now commence." What happened next would haunt the survivors for the rest of their lives. Beams of pure energy erupted from Earth's surface, each one wider than a Vorthan battleship. They moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen, crossing the distance from planet to fleet in milliseconds. The first beam struck the destroyer of worlds directly. Korth watched in horror as his flagship's shields, designed to withstand the most powerful weapons known to science, simply vanished. The beam passed through the ship's armor like it was made of paper. In seconds, the pride of the Vorthan Navy was reduced to a cloud of expanding gas and metal fragments. "Evasive maneuvers!" someone screamed, but it was too late. More beams lanced out from Earth, each one finding its target with perfect accuracy. Battleships that had conquered worlds across the galaxy were destroyed in single hits. The support vessels didn't even have time to turn before they too were vaporized. "Admiral, we've lost 60% of the fleet," the surviving communications officer reported from his position on the deck, blood trickling from a wound on his forehead. Korth couldn't speak. He stared at the tactical display as red dots representing his ships winked out one by one. The most powerful invasion force ever assembled by the Vorthan Empire was being systematically annihilated by weapons they couldn't even understand. "Sir, the humans are launching some kind of spacecraft," the sensor officer managed to say. "But these aren't like the primitive vessels we observed. They're moving at impossible speeds." Through the viewport, Korth could see sleek silver ships rising from Earth's atmosphere. They moved with a grace and speed that made Vorthan vessels look like clumsy cargo haulers. Within minutes, they had surrounded the remnants of the invasion fleet. "This is General Harrison," the human's voice filled the bridge again. "You have exactly 10 minutes to evacuate your surviving personnel and withdraw from our system. Any ship that remains after that time will be destroyed." The bridge fell silent except for the sparking of damaged equipment and the groans of the dying ship around them. Korth looked at the faces of his crew and saw his own shock and terror reflected in their eyes. The Vorthan Empire, conqueror of 17 star systems, had met its match. But this wasn't just a defeat. It was a revelation that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. "Send the evacuation order," Korth whispered, his voice barely audible. "All ships withdraw immediately." As the surviving Vorthan vessels limped away from Earth, carrying only a fraction of the warriors who had arrived, one question burned in every mind. If the humans possessed such incredible power, why had they hidden it? And what did this mean for the Empire's future? The answer to those questions would come soon enough, and it would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The emergency session of the Vorthan High Council convened in the deepest chambers of the Imperial Palace. Never before in the Empire's history had such a gathering been called. The massive hall, which usually hosted celebrations of conquest, now felt like a tomb filled with the ghosts of defeat. Emperor Vashatar himself presided over the assembly, his ancient features carved from stone and shadow. Around the circular chamber sat the most powerful beings in known space: fleet admirals, planetary governors, intelligence directors, and military scientists. All of them stared at the holographic display showing the remains of the 18th Conquest Fleet. Admiral Korth stood in the center of the chamber, his once proud uniform torn and stained. The scars from his escape pod's crash landing were still fresh on his scaled hide. He had been the Empire's greatest military commander. Now he was a living symbol of their first major defeat. Explain to us, Admiral, how the most powerful invasion force in galactic history was destroyed by a single primitive world. Emperor Vashatar's voice echoed through the chamber like distant thunder. Korth's throat felt dry as sand. Your Imperial Majesty, the humans were not what they appeared to be. They had concealed their true military capabilities behind elaborate deceptions. Their planet itself was a fortress beyond our understanding. You're telling us that soft-skinned creatures with projectile weapons somehow developed technology superior to ours? The question came from Admiral Thekrin, Korth's rival and the commander of the 7th Fleet. His tone dripped with disbelief and mockery. The weapons they used, they bypassed our shields completely. Our armor was useless. Ships that had withstood bombardments from entire fleets were destroyed in seconds. Korth replied, reliving the nightmare in his mind. General Mordak, the Empire's chief military scientist, leaned forward in his seat. Admiral, describe these weapons in detail. What energy signatures did your sensors detect? That's the problem, General. Our sensors couldn't properly analyze them. The energy patterns were unlike anything in our databases. It was as if they were using physics we don't understand. A murmur of discomfort rippled through the assembly. The Vorthan Empire's technological superiority had been the foundation of their galactic dominance for centuries. The idea that a single world could possess knowledge beyond their comprehension was terrifying. Perhaps the Admiral's crew was simply unprepared, Admiral Thekrin suggested. A single world cannot possibly threaten the entire Empire. I volunteer to lead the 7th Fleet against these humans and show them the true power of... The 7th Fleet will remain exactly where it is, Emperor Vashatar interrupted sharply. Until we understand what happened at Earth, no Vorthan ship will venture near that system. Director Kelvar of Imperial Intelligence activated his personal display. Your Majesty, I've been analyzing the intelligence reports from Scout Commander Zekthara. There are disturbing patterns in human behavior that we failed to recognize. Explain. The humans have been preparing for interstellar contact for decades. Their entertainment media is filled with stories about alien invasions. They've been planning and building defenses specifically designed to counter threats from space. What we interpreted as primitive military exercises were actually rehearsals for our arrival. The implications of this revelation settled over the chamber like a cold fog. The humans hadn't been caught off guard. They had been waiting. How is this possible? Demanded Governor Thulkata of the Outer Rim territories. Our scouts observed them for months. They saw nothing but primitive weapons and technology. Director Kelvar's image shifted, showing recordings from the destroyed fleet. The humans demonstrated a level of strategic deception that exceeds our own capabilities. They maintained the illusion of technological primacy while secretly preparing planet-scale defensive systems. Every major city, every military installation, every seemingly natural feature on their world was part of an integrated defense network. Emperor Vashatar studied the recordings with growing unease. The human general who had delivered their ultimatum appeared calm and confident, as if destroying a galactic superpower's invasion fleet was routine business. What else do we know about them? The Emperor asked. Scout Commander Zekthara, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Your Imperial Majesty, request permission to address the Council. Granted. Zekthara stepped forward, his movements stiff with barely controlled emotion. I tried to warn Admiral Korth that we needed more time to study the humans. Everything about them defied our previous experience with conquered species. Be specific, Commander. Their history shows an unusual pattern of rapid technological advancement during periods of conflict. They've gone from primitive flying machines to interplanetary travel in less than a century. More importantly, they've survived multiple extinction-level events on their own world and emerged stronger each time. Zekthara activated his own display, showing historical data about Earth. They've fought countless wars among their own species, developing increasingly sophisticated methods of warfare. But what makes them truly dangerous is their capacity for cooperation when faced with external threats. You're suggesting they united their entire species against us? Yes, Your Majesty. The human response wasn't just from one nation or government. It was coordinated across their entire planet. They've somehow managed to overcome their internal divisions to present a unified front. This information sent shockwaves through the council chamber. The Vorthon Empire had never encountered a species that could achieve planet-wide unity. Most civilizations remained divided by geography, resources, or ideology, making them easy to conquer through political manipulation. General Mordak stood up, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber. Your Majesty, I believe we're facing something unprecedented. The humans may represent an entirely new category of threat. Explain your assessment, General. Our standard conquest protocol assumes that advanced civilizations become comfortable and weak. The humans appear to have avoided this trap. They've maintained their aggressive, survival-focused mentality while developing technology that surpasses our own. They're essentially a warrior species with the tools of a galactic superpower. The chamber fell silent as the full implications became clear. The Vorthon Empire had built their dominance on the assumption that they were the apex predators of the galaxy. The discovery of the humans shattered that assumption completely. Emperor Vashatar's voice cut through the silence. Director Kelvar, what intelligence do we have about other human worlds? Sir, that's the most disturbing aspect of our analysis. Earth appears to be their only inhabited world. They've achieved this level of technological advancement and military capability from a single planet. Impossible. I'm afraid it's confirmed, Your Majesty, which raises an even more troubling question. If they can do this with one world, what could they achieve if they expanded across the galaxy? The implication hung in the air like a death sentence. If the humans decided to become an expansionist power, they could potentially challenge the Vorthon Empire's dominance across known space. Your Majesty, Admiral Korth spoke again, his voice heavy with shame and fear. I witnessed their response firsthand. They weren't angry or emotional during the battle. They were clinical, professional. They destroyed our fleet with the same efficiency they might use to remove a minor obstacle. What are you saying, Admiral? I don't think we've seen their full capabilities. The ease with which they defeated us suggests they were holding back. They could have pursued our surviving ships and eliminated them completely, but they chose not to. They wanted us to escape and carry a message back to the Empire. Emperor Vashatar leaned back in his throne, his mind processing the full scope of their situation. What message? Scout Commander Zekthara stepped forward again. Your Majesty, before we withdrew from their system, I intercepted additional human communications. They know about us now. They know about the Empire, our other conquered worlds, and our expansion patterns. They're no longer just defending their own planet. They're studying us. The chamber erupted in worried voices as the council members grasped the reversal of their situation. The hunters had become the hunted. The Vorthon Empire, which had spent centuries studying and conquering other species, was now being studied in return by a civilization with superior technology and unknown intentions. Emperor Vashtar raised his hand for silence. When the chamber quieted, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. From this moment forward, all expansion operations are suspended. No Vorthon ship will approach human space without my direct authorization. Our immediate priority is to strengthen our defenses and prepare for the possibility that these humans may decide we are a threat to their existence. The greatest military power in the galaxy had been reduced to a defensive posture by a single encounter with an enemy they had underestimated. As the council session ended and the leaders dispersed to their ships and worlds, one thought dominated every mind. What would the humans do next? In the depths of space, Earth continued its slow rotation, no longer appearing as a peaceful blue marble but as a fortress world whose true power had only begun to reveal itself. The galaxy would never be the same again.